Okay, great. Perfect.
Stay tuned for some foresight into the future. Welcome to the podcast. We discuss how to outmaneuver your opponents. I'm Faith, and I'm joined with Jrod and his Dudeness. We are less than 2 weeks away from the pre-release for Twilight of the Republic. And so, let's start by talking about the spoilers we have gotten from the last 2 weeks. Jrod, which cards have interested you?
Well, I will jump into that, but real quickly, the reason we named this episode Foresight was because we have a special video debuting tomorrow at 8 a.m. Please be sure to check it out. We have an unspoiled legendary that we pulled from our box from FFG, so please be sure to tune in and check that out. But now I will dive into some of the spoilers that we do have so far. And I think I'm going to start off with the hero of the Clone Wars himself, leader Anakin Skywalker. He is a aggression heroic, what it takes to win. Force Jedi Republic. His action is exhaust this leader, deal 2 damage to your base, attack with a unit. If it's attacking a unit, it gets +2/+0 for this attack. He has an epic action, and he deploys on 6 as a 4/7 with Overwhelm. But it says this unit gains +1/+0 for every 5 damage on your base. So that's pretty good right there. Yeah, I think he's a great leader, and I think that this might be one of the first leaders that you don't always want to immediately deploy. Like, I think there will be games where you can just choose to wait on deploying Anakin, trying to keep him alive so he can kind of end the game. Because of his bonus of getting +1 for every 5 damage on your base, he probably will come out as probably a 6/7 most of the time, if I had to guess. Potentially even a 7/7, which would be massive. So I think this leader is going to be pretty nuts. I know he's only a common. I said that, but he is only a common. But he's definitely going to allow some, I think, red-blue heroism control to really have a finisher as a leader. So he'll be pretty interesting.
So do you think he's more of an aggro leader, more of a control? How are you building him?
Personally, I'd probably want to build him as a control leader because his ability doesn't say base. So Dudeness is already out. So that tells me right there he's a control leader because he wants to be interacting with his opponent's units, with his units, which is much more of a controlling aspect, in my opinion.
And for those reasons, I'm out. No, but seriously, I think what you're trying to do is you're trying to leverage early units that can trade into other units more efficiently and hopefully survive. This is where you can use high health units and then use his ability to get the +2 attack you need to actually trade into your opponents and control their board that way.
Right. Like, I think set 1, R2, and 3PO as a tandem, slot perfectly right into this deck. Really good. And also of note, because I know Millennium Falcon was a problem for a lot of decks. Falcon gets to get taken out a lot easier with a lot of turn 1 plays compared to other leaders because of his ability as well. So every time you get to kill a unit that doesn't get to attack your base, you basically heal 1. So the 2 damage isn't a big deal. And if you're playing with a guy like Yoda or Kanan in blue, they're going to attack for 2 more. So Yoda would attack for 4 and heal 2. So you just take no damage on your base and get to kill something. And then same thing with Kanan. Kanan's big problem is he doesn't have 5 attack, but Anakin basically fixes that, making him attack for 6. So I think he's really good. I played a lot of Han 2 blue this past set, and one of the major problems I had, I lost to set 1 Han a lot because we couldn't deal 5 damage to DJ or Tech, so whenever they came out, I was in trouble. But with this ability, I think that we'll have less issues defeating those 5 HP units when we need to. So I think he's honestly pretty good and could be pretty good in Premiere. We'll have to wait and see. His ability doesn't seem super strong, and I don't even want to deploy him some rounds because I want to use his ability first because it's so good sometimes. So I don't know. It'd be really good. And they have a bunch of cards that we might talk about that have effects if you have 15 more damage on your base or whatever. So a lot of good synergy cards for him. So I imagine that he'll see some competitive play at some point.
I think it's really interesting with the way that bases in the game work. That this is a leader. Which what base are you going to choose? If you're choosing the droid factory, which puts your base at 24 life, in order to get like a lot of the cards you're mentioning that trigger when you have 15 or more damage on your base, now you're only at 9 life to even get to that effect triggered, or even with him, to give him that third attack, you're going to be at a very low life total. As opposed to if you're running a 30 health base, then you've got 15 health, so you still have more health inherently. So I think that'll be an interesting game choice on what kind of base you're playing with him.
I would imagine most people who are going to be playing him would pick a 30 HP base.
But then if you want to play more aggressive, you can not.
You say that, but I tried to build Anakin in yellow, and I definitely slotted in the new arena.
Pachonaki Arena, yeah.
It was an easy choice, but I don't know.
But that kind of I can see that because that's 26 health. So you lose 4 health, but you give him an extra damage. Like, it's better rate than what he's even offering inherently.
And if you're able to control the board enough, you get 2 swings with the boy when he's swinging for 7 or 8. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty much it's good enough.
And he's got overwhelm, so you can remove things off of their board without totally negating your game plan if you need to, or like sentinels or whatever.
Yep.
You know what he's really good with? Jedi lightsaber. Because I forgot he has overwhelm. So he like makes their HP smaller and then overwhelms for more.
Yeah, very good point.
I hadn't even considered that. Like, I built a couple dice for him, didn't put that in at all, and now I'm like rethinking my entire strategy of like, maybe you should put this in the deck.
No, actually,
makes sense. So what about you? What about you, Dudeness? What do you think? Any cards spark joy for you that have been spoiled in the last 2 weeks?
There is one card that maybe could potentially spark joy, and we're talking about our boy Hugh Yang, the Enduring Instructor. He is a 3-cost single command aspect 2/4 ground unit that says, when played, choose another friendly unit, and while Hugh Yang remains in play, the chosen unit gets +2/+2. So he's sort of a pseudo wing leader. It's sort of like 2 experience. This is how they're getting around, not having experience counters in the set. The student is basically 2 experience, but he's not. He's also a Jedi and a droid, so he's another Jedi for stuff that care about Jedi. Right now, I think the only card really is General's Blade, but there could be more, obviously. I think he's cool. I love things that you can play on curve to buff your stuff. His 2/4 body might not be good enough. I haven't really tested it yet, honestly, but this is the guy that slots in the Union Green deck and could potentially support an aggro strat, or just you're trying to put this behind a Sentinel is also another good option. Because then kind of make sure that this guy sticks around, because now your Sentinel is obviously in the way.
I actually am also a big fan of Hugh Yang, Ahsoka's droid, in case people didn't know. Well, they fly together now. They're friends. But yeah, I think he's pretty good. I don't know if he's going to be like a 3 of where you want to curve out into him.
Right.
I think he's probably going to be more of a 2 of where you want to see like 1 per game, and he's going to be a later, like filling in your curve later. A buff, like a Sentinel would be a good choice, or a token, or
or a leader.
Or a leader, yep, absolutely. So it'll be interesting. I definitely think he's good. I just wish he had 3 attack, I guess, is my one concern, because a lot of units, like there's going to be quite a few units that can hit for 4 with ambush that take this guy out pretty easily. So we'll see if he actually gets to see some play, but the effect is interesting, and yeah, I think he'll be pretty good. Although he's Jedi, not Force, so that's the only thing. Like,
yeah,
the Jedi's kind of weird. I hope to see some more Jedi stuff in the future. I bet we will with the names of the sets coming forward. But
so there is one other card that Jedi is actually kind of helpful for, and there are 2 of them, because then you can use that to bring out a next
bigger
turn.
Jedi. Yeah, that's fair.
Like an Obi-Wan or something on the next turn, or even later on.
Yeah.
So not a totally irrelevant trait, but that same trait is a great transition into the card that I want to talk about, which is Padawan Starfighter. 2-cost vigilance space unit. That's a 1/3 Jedi Republic vehicle fighter that has this very interesting effect. While you control a Force unit or a Force upgrade, this unit gets +1/+1. I was looking through, I didn't see any Force upgrades. I thought originally the lightsabers were Force, but they are not. So that's what interests me, is this idea of a Force upgrade. My initial thoughts, I didn't play Destiny, but I heard there was a card that was Force speed. Yeah. And so I wondered if maybe that will be like our first Force upgrade.
No.
It sounds pretty lit, dude. I'm here for it.
Everyone knows this Force seed was busted and shouldn't have been printed. Save us all.
But yeah, it sounds like Force upgrades are going to be, Force abilities.
Yeah.
May or may not even have a requirement of being Force in the first place, right? You must much attach this to a Force unit, similar to cannot be attached to a vehicle.
Yes.
I thought you were just hyped for this because it thought it went well in Krennic. That's what I thought you were going with this.
No, it actually goes really well with, as previously mentioned, now there are two of them, because it's a Jedi that can bring out a Jedi unit the next turn. So it's actually, if you don't have the other, I do have a deck like this, which either wants Grogu turn 1 for being a Force trait, or this being turn 1 for a Jedi. Both of them kind of go well.
It also has Republic which can be a relevant trait.
Yeah.
Vehicle and fighter. Fighter could be.
There are two of them. Says you can't have a vehicle for their two of them.
So the fighter.
You can't bring in a fighter.
Oh, I can't even bring it. I got you.
In a vehicle, but you can use a vehicle with the Jedi Republic to bring in a Jedi Republic.
Correct.
All right. I guess it's back to me now.
Yes, sir.
So I'm going to do another leader, honestly, because this set has some fire leaders. Like set 1 had quality, like basic leaders that I think everyone understands are pretty good. Set 2 had some fun leaders, but we're kind of still pretty basic. This set has been, how can we push it a little bit more? Not a ton, but just a little bit, right? But this guy that I'm going to announce has been pushing the envelope, and I called it in set 1 that we were going to have a Palpatine like this. I called it. Here we are, Chancellor Palpatine. He is a cunning heroism playing both sides. Very interesting little subtitle there. Republic official. This leader starts the game with this side face up. With an exhaust action, if a friendly heroic unit was defeated this phase, draw a card. Heal 2 damage from your base, and then flip this leader. And there is no epic action. So you may be asking yourself, well, Jrod, what does that mean? Well, on the other side, we have Darth Sidious playing both sides, Force Separatist Sith. This is cunning villainy. With an exhaust action, if you played a villainy card this phase, create a clone trooper token, deal 2 damage to each enemy base, and then flip this leader. So, as the card says on it, you are playing both sides of this leader. And I think this leader is super cool for Twin Suns and for Premier. But Twin Suns, this card is going to be nuts. It changes how you think about Twin Suns, how you build Twin Suns. And honestly, even for Premier as well, it changes everything that you think about deck building, right? Because in this one, like, you kind of want heroic units and villainy events. So it's like, how do I best navigate that? I did a little testing earlier today. I think red might be the best option because it has some of the best villainy events. But it'll be interesting. I can't wait for people who are smarter than I to deck build with this guy and come up with something really fantastic, because this guy's going to be super fun to play with. Probably pretty difficult to play with when timing, because just for some rules clarity here, the cards in your deck will only have access to whatever side of this leader is face up. So if you have the heroic side, all of your villainy stuff will cost 2 extra. And on the villainy side, all your heroic stuff will cost 2 extra. So depending on where he's flipped, that will be able to determine your play in your hand. But I think the best card to fit in these decks that will slide in perfectly every single time is going to be R2-D2, because it allows you to look at the top 3 cards and pick the one you want. So if he's on his heroic side, you can pick a hero card, etc., etc. So a lot of good planning with this guy in R2-D2 and stuff like that. So be really interesting to see. But what do you boys think?
Welcome to Out Twin Suns, where we help you twin sun your twin son, twin son. I some initial thoughts that I had with this card were, 1, I know why I'm a little sad that neither side buffs my Emperor's Royal Guards. 2, I am interested to see how it plays out. I love the idea that it's like a different thing. I think this is a great time, because this is the last card we got of year 1. We got to remember that this 3rd set for Star Wars Unlimited is going to be the 3 sets that we got in the first year of Star Wars Unlimited. So that just tells me that next year, year 2 of SWU, we got some interesting card designs coming up.
Also, of note, in the reveal of this card, FFG in its post says the first of its kind, which was interesting to me because I have guessed that we might see a set next year in which we see a lot of people flipping from hero to villainy, because it happens a lot in Star Wars. And I think we could have a whole set based around something like this. So
another thing I thought was interesting was the subtitle is the same on both. So other cards, like the title is the same on both, obviously. But this one I thought interesting. The subtitle stays the same on both sides.
It's also important. It's also important to note that when you activate his action and flip, he remains exhausted on the other side when he's flipped.
Mhm.
You cannot take the actions indefinitely over and over if you were to trigger them each. But yeah, I think this leader is a banger of a leader. If for no other reason, it sparks creative deck building. Like immediately, it just gets creative juices flowing. To echo what Jrod said, I am excited to see what a much better deck builder than I comes up with this dude, because it's a very cool ability. It's a very cool card to have. Whether or not he ends up being actually good in Premiere, he's good for the game of Star Wars just because he injects that creative deck building just element. Just a really cool leader for those people to latch onto and experiment with.
We'll also have, without being able to deploy, we'll have to see what other ways leaders can deploy. And maybe it won't be our standard always deploying to ground. We'll have to wait and see on that.
Right. Obviously, my hope since set 1 even came out has been give me a space leader. If we don't have space leaders in the set before, we're never getting them, pretty much. But yeah, this opens up the possibility of future leaders that don't just have an epic action to deploy out, right? So this card opens up a whole can of worms that I'm really excited to see where it ends up.
Dudeness, was there any of the cards that you saw that you liked from the?
Yeah, for sure. I want to touch on the 2 token generator cards that were spoiled in the starter stream. The first one is the heroic one. It's the 4 cost drop in. It creates 2 clone trooper tokens. And then we've got the villainy version. It's called droid deployment. It's 2 cost. It creates 2 battle droid tokens. So these are obviously, mirrored. These are I think right off the rip, the droid deployment is just better. Getting 2 droid tokens for 2, it feels a lot better because you can play it on turn 1 to activate any synergies with exploit just right off the rip if you wanted to. Paying 4 for 2 2/2s feels a lot worse when it comes around on the 4 resource turn IMO. I don't know. It could be okay in draft. I don't think drop-in is going to be good enough for Premiere. Going to be more than good enough in a limited environment. Droid deployment is going to be great in both, I think.
So what do you think about these 2 cards compared to the 3 cost double green one? How does the costing of all those 3 cards make you feel?
Well, here's the thing. Like, this is basically on curve with that card if you're making battle droid tokens. You get 3 for 3 droids, or you can get 2 for 2 droids. The other one, you're literally just getting a 1 cost discount straight up on the same effect from 4 to 3. So that's where I feel like the 4 cost to get 2 tokens. And I was even looking at MTG and other comparison card games. I searched for what creates 2 zombie tokens. And their rate over there for an event is 4 mana, give me 2/2/2 zombies, right? But it usually also had something else stapled on it, like a madness or a buyback or some graveyard recursion that you can cast it for later. So it's like, to me, it just feels a little weak overall.
Yeah, so Tyler had a whole post about these today being Saturday. He made a post actually yesterday about it, but he was talking about them, and I had posted, I thought the droid one was perfectly costed. I thought it was fair, and that the clone one drop in, I think it would be good at 3.5 resources, and obviously we don't have 0.5.
So you have to give it something else, a little something extra.
Yeah, and so like I was like kind of joking. I was like, but it would be fun to give it exploit 1. You know, I do think that would have been funny, like because then you're sacrificing a unit, right? And if you're playing the hero side, you're less likely to have a droid to just toss the droid away. So like you might actually have to lose something good to play it for 2. You know, and obviously that'd be very good playing it for 2, but you're still defeating one of your units. So, you know, I think that's where it could have had some fun, but you know, obviously they're not going to do that on a basic common card for draft. So,
correct. Yeah, right. It is still a common, so you have to keep that in mind a little bit.
Right. So I imagine for draft it'll be fine. You'll probably want to take
one
or 2 of these if you see them. Twin Suns probably playable, probably fine enough.
Because it gets you 2 bodies to get you 2 activations for the next round or whatever, right? You kind of want to take your time in Twin Suns.
Yep, exactly. So I think it's fine there. Premier, unless there's really like a go wide in hero that just is like, wow, yeah, I just need both of these things. Like you have to be ahead on board to play this card. If you're ahead on board, you can play it. If you're behind, you just can't play this card ever because you're just gonna lose both your guys for free. So,
whereas the droid deployment, you're just landing on curve turn 1. You're feeling fine about it.
Right. And honestly, some people might play that card and then just be like, oh, here's my Asajj Ventress turn 1, go.
Yeah,
totally.
A card that I want to turn to, which one of the things it could use is either one of those cards, really, but you're more likely going to see it with the 2/1/1 battle droids, is Count Dooku, who's an 8-cost aggression villainy 6/6 for Separatist Sith with exploit 2, overwhelm, and when played, for each unit you exploited while playing this card, you may deal damage to an enemy unit equal to the power of the exploited unit. So this is interesting for a variety of things. One, I think is an interesting card. Like, you're never going to want to play this just at 8 resources for a 6/6 overwhelm. You feel really bad if you're doing that. Mm-hmm. So you really that exploit 2 is doing a lot. I actually think it's got a really wonderful interaction with the Count Dooku leader because you can make that exploit greater. And obviously that makes the unit cheaper, but it's this when played effect, which is really doing a lot of the work there. And one thing that's really cool about this is it's one way to deal damage to a multiple amount of units, because if you're exploiting 2 or 3 units, you get to choose that many different, like each of your units that you exploited are going to be able to hit different units. They could also hit the same unit. But yeah, so it's just interesting having those options.
Yeah, I do like this card too, actually. I like the exploit, and to using that exploit is basically a fling to fling your units, something that's pretty cool. But it does feel sort of like a last-ditch effort, right? Like if you're having to do this, right, stuff's going bad, but maybe it's just good enough if you can play this, exploit a couple of things, get a couple kills. Now you have a 6/6 overwhelm just kind of chilling around. Like, I feel like this is going to be used towards the end of a round, once you've gotten a bunch of use out of your units first, maybe, and then you're exploiting them, finishing off the other stuff, bringing in the 6/6 overwhelm that you have to deal with next turn. I don't know.
So unlike limited power, which has to target different units, what I like about this is you get the choice where you can choose different units to hit, or you can just choose the same unit as well. So I like that effect, that part of the effect.
Yeah, it's very good.
Just play it at the start of your turn, and just if you're about to lose, right, use it as a little mini barrage or something, right, to kill off 2 other units. Yeah. Like, you can't attack twice, right? But you can sack 2 things right away and then use them to attack twice to kill off because sometimes your opponent is quote unquote presenting check, right? In the 2 separate arenas or 2 separate attacks, you can't deal with both. This guy does actually potentially allow you to deal with both things right off the rip.
I think that the Magical Christmas land for this card is your opponent plays some type of shielded unit, and you sacrifice a battle droid plus a unit that has enough power to defeat the after the shield, because the damage would happen separately. And then he would cost 4. So ideally you do this on turn 3. And then on turn 5, you get to untap and just play barrage off of him for 8. It seems really good.
That seems okay. That's fine, I guess.
Just casual 8 barrage. I barrage you once, I barrage you again. Because I'm barrage you. Barrage. I think he's pretty good. He might be one of the best rares in this set.
I think it's cool for sure.
I'm a little surprised he wasn't in the Power of the Dark Side Gen Con kit. I know they already had a Dooku in there, so that's definitely why.
Yeah.
But I'm just a little.
Yeah, they already had a Dooku, bro. Come on, man.
But they had 3 cards from set 1, 1 card from, or 2 cards from set 1, 2 cards from set 1, 1 card from 3 cards, 3 cards from set 1, 2 cards from 1 card from set 2, and then 2 cards from set 3. They could have had 2, 1, and then 3 for the new set. I don't know. They wanted the vigilance, probably why they did that. One card that I think is interesting is, I do think Brain Invaders is a little interesting. I don't think it's good, but these kind of cards, in the way Star Wars is built, Star Wars Unlimited is built, it makes me interested. Like how Palpatine doesn't deploy. Brain Invaders is a 4-cost ground unit. That's a 2/4 fringe. And each leader loses all abilities except for epic actions and can't gain abilities. So a couple things, if you haven't played a card game before, what this means is that your leader, while they're undeployed and when they're also deployed, they lose all their abilities they have, so they just become a generic body or as a leader. They just don't do anything except for your aspects. They give you your aspects still. But with this interesting part about gaining abilities, we know of units that can gain abilities, but I wonder if in the future we're going to get cards which will give our leaders abilities.
We have them now.
What's that?
Upgrades.
No. Well, they're undeployed.
Gotcha. I gotcha.
I think in the future we might get upgrades that will upgrade on your leader. I can see that, but yeah.
Oh, I think that's probably going to be a design space for sure. But this guy makes Palpatine cry. Like if Palpatine becomes like hyper meta and too good, like everyone's going to jam like 3 of these. So that just tells me that they don't expect Palpatine to be like hyper pop. Like he's going to be, people will play him. He'll probably be like a fringe, but he's not going to be like what Boba Fett is right now, where he's like everyone's craving for him to be banned.
Well, I would say like he has a 2/4 this unit, so he's pretty easy to deal with.
Sure, sticking behind a Sentinel though, and you're like it's kind of awkward. Like,
yeah,
the whole thing of Palp is you'll want to flip him, I think, once per turn. I think that's kind of how he typically wants to be played.
Yeah, that's fair. So you're finding him off for any amount of time, and that can be a big deal.
All right, is it my go?
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Let me do a quick little peek here, a little peek ski. See what we got here. I know there was one that I like definitely wanted to talk about, and I can't remember whom it was. I do right top tier. Do I just go like another leader? I don't know if I can.
Honestly, I was going to talk about Yoda next, so if you just want to talk
all right. I'll skip them. Oh, spoilers, dude. Spoilers. Okay, so let's talk about Shadowed Intention, which is a 3-cost cunning upgrade. It gives +0/+0, and it says attached unit gains. This unit can't be captured, defeated, or returned to its owner's hand by enemy card abilities. So kind of like the TIE, what is it, Phantom from last set? Is that right? That's the name, Phantom? Similar, but a little different. I think you can still be dealt damage and defeated. You could still get barraged. Oh, no, it can't be defeated, so the damage wouldn't defeat it by barrage. But the damage would stay there? That's weird. I don't know how this reads. I'm confused on how this reads with that. Because it can't be defeated, but it can be damaged. So does that... Anyways.
Yeah, no. Defeated is like takedown.
Gotcha. So it can be... So barrage could kill it then.
To my understanding, yes. Damage.
Okay. So,
damage, because that damage is defeating it.
Right. Okay. So a little bit more loopholes. However, if you want to go tall on one unit now, waylay isn't your biggest fear, you know? And when you're trying to go tall, barrage typically can't get that high. So, you know, I think this card could definitely be, maybe there's some kind of like Chariot yellow now that, you know, really takes form and try to stack a bunch of things on Chariot and go from there. Because he already can't be defeated on the same turn with damage. So adding this on him, like, how do you deal with him, right? So
you still damage him with just...
I think personally this is one of the cards of all time. It definitely exists in the game of Star Wars Unlimited. It's taken up one of the 257 card slots in the set. And that's about all I can really say on it.
Well, I don't know though if It's interesting putting this on a leader in my mind because leaders already can't be captured and leaders also can't be returned to your hand. So it's two effects that are just wasted by putting this on a leader. Now they can't be defeated by card effects, by enemy card abilities, but they can still be defeated by damage. So I don't know if I love this on a leader.
That's fair.
I feel like it's better on a big unit.
And honestly, like speaking of leaders, we should just talk about the boy here. This was the one leader for sure. Personally, from just a personal favorite character standpoint, I was looking forward to the Elders, and I think they did a pretty good job with him. Yeah, I think he's pretty cool with my limited testing so far. But we should just go right into it. So if you haven't seen him yet, he's a blue hero, Forest Jedi Republic. His action allows you to exhaust him. And if a unit left play this phase, draw a card, then put a card from your hand on the top or bottom of your deck. So this is sort of a souped up R2 ability, because you can put any card from your hand back on top or the bottom. More on that here in a bit. And he deploys on 7. He deploys as a 4/9 with Restore 2. And when he deploys onto the battlefield, you may discard a card from your deck. And if you do, defeat an enemy non-leader unit that costs the same or less than the discarded card. Now, if you were paying attention to his leader side allows you to draw a card and then put any card you want on top of that deck. So that allows you to, when he deploys effectively, if you're able to get another unit to leave play, he can nuke anything out on the board. I do it very often. You just put a redemption or a big 7-drop. I've been playing Yoda Yellow. So cards like Infy's Nest, Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, all of these are good to put on top of the deck and then deploy it, and that nukes anything that your opponent can play on 7 resources. So that part is pretty good. But my favorite part about this leader, honestly, so far, is that it makes You're My Only Hope banger of a card, because with his action, it now allows you to put any card on top. So if you're able to trade off your turn 1 plays, you can put a 5-drop on top and then play You're My Only Hope and play a turn 2 5-drop, or you can on turn 4 you can play a 7-drop. You can play Luke, you can play Infy's Nest, has been doing pretty well. You can play Han Solo. You can play whatever, and getting a 2 resource discount on those big beefy units is pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm definitely a big Yoda fan as well. I think he's great. I definitely built one deck with him and definitely forgot to put You're My Only Hope. And I was testing against my buddy who definitely had it in the deck, and he played it one time. I was like, oh, that card should be in this deck too. Huh, that thing seems real good in this deck, obviously. So I think that's going to be the key as to like how abusable that could be. And when you're in yellow too, I could see you also playing Faith's favorite card he's mentioned about 3 times in this podcast. The one that searches for like another version of that. So like if you had like, if you don't know if you play Grogu on turn in that deck, but if you're playing Grogu,
I definitely do play Grogu, yeah.
Yeah, so if you're playing him into that, you're just like getting a bunch of like Force users out super early and just trying to do that to like get ahead, you know?
Yes, that was my original kind of plan, thought of the deck when I was making it, trying to abuse both You're My Only Hope, and now there are 2 of them for sure.
Do you play like R2 or 3PO in there as well? The set ones?
Negative.
No. Because I feel like 3PO, obviously, because you could put it on top and draw it if you need it and just go through your deck faster.
I mean,
R2, I guess, is a little bit less, but
I definitely see the reasoning, right? You can see what's on top for other stuff if you can't activate Yoda or something, but as long as you're able to activate Yoda, he just kind of does everything you need everything those cards do, sort of.
It's fair.
So maybe someone that's just their first time playing games might not understand, like, oh, I'm drawing a card, but I'm putting another card back, so that really doesn't do anything. Can you maybe get into a little bit of the reasoning why that's important? Okay,
so the biggest thing is that you don't have to put the card you just drew back on top. And you can also put it on the bottom. So if you can draw into an answer you're looking for straight up, now you can play that card. You can put another card back and play the card you just drew. Or you can even get rid of a card that's not good in a particular matchup. You can put that card on the bottom and which helps you cycle to get you to the cards that are good in the particular matchup that you're playing. So he's like, it's a souped up R2 ability that's just better in every way.
Set 1 R2.
Set 1 R2, correct.
Because I imagine you also play set 2 or set 3 R2 in that.
I was playing set 3 R2 in that, yeah. Because he was, in my initial build, like he's also Republic to try to get out. Like Cam is a Force Republic for 5, right?
Yep. Yeah, interesting. I can't wait. Like this set 3 has been like everything I could have asked for. I'm not disappointed in like a single thing. The art has been phenomenal. The card design,
the Yoda art here is pretty good, and this is the art they chose for the Yoda mat, which I think also looks pretty sweet.
I will likely be picking up the Yoda mat. So the first mat I'll be purchasing, I think, from FFG stuff because I have our custom-made outmaneuver mat that is only for members of the squad. So this might be the first one I dabble in. If they had done a Rex or Ahsoka one, I definitely would have purchased one of those, but they hate me, so they chose not wanting to take my money.
They literally hate you. Were there any other cards that you guys that we want to talk about quickly before we kind of move on to another thought?
I'm sure there's plenty, but we can definitely move on.
Well, one just controversy we can talk about briefly. We did get Droideka Security, which is a 6-cost common 4-2 exploit 2 Sentinel. That part's not the important part. The controversy, since we are now also besides the Twin Sons podcast, we're also a controversy podcast. Clearly, is it does not have a shield token. How do we feel about that?
It's fine.
We knew it was coming, right? Because this set has no shield and experience. But am I disappointed in the Droideka? Yes, I think we all are. All right, like he's 6-cost 4/5 Sentinel with exploit 2. Well, like it's okay, right? You exploit a couple of droids, and now you've got a 4/5 Sentinel. I mean, it's common. It's going to see play in draft, and just another reason why set 3 limited is going to be the best yet. IMO, I think it's going to be.
This thing's going to see play in Premiere. I promise you.
You think so?
See play, yeah. Because the exploit stuff for villainy is like it gets out of hand pretty quickly. So I imagine because it's just exploiting one droid token makes him a 4-cost 4/5, and that's like I'm all there for that all day long. Sign me up. So
what was that?
I'm just thinking of 4-cost 4/5. Like you've got that in villainy, feeling better potentially with Childson.
Childson, that was my first one as well. Yeah,
sure, but like that's requiring you to build your deck in a very specific way. This allows you to like
also requires you to build your deck in a reasonably specific way.
Sure, but like you just played Newt Gunray, and this guy's like free all the time. Like he costs 2, right? Like I don't know. Like there's you literally can play him on turn 2 by sacrificing the 2 droids you made from the droid factory card, whatever they're called. The
droid deployment.
Yeah, droid deployment. So you play that turn 1, and then you sacrifice both of them, and you just play this out, and your opponent's like, "Huh, my turn 1 play now sucks." Cool. Oh, and you still get 1 more resource to do whatever you want with.
And that activates the trigger for our boy Newt Gunray to get another token back, right?
Yeah. So yes. I think this card could definitely see some Premier play. I'm not saying definitely. I'm not saying it's gonna be a superstar. Sure. I could see it making its way.
I have personally just now been convinced by your argument, and I could definitely see it. It's for sure going to be good enough in draft.
Oh yeah, this is insane in draft.
It's going to be cool. But for sure, we were all hoping for a shield. We were all hoping for some sort of damage reduction in some way, shape, or form. Tyler even mentioned this in one of his designer insights that they post on the Discord from Twitter. He talked about this card and how putting like a damage reduction on just a common card was a bit too much, right? And how you can't really, it's not really an uncommon kind of card because those are usually unique cards. But I personally don't see why you couldn't make an uncommon Droideka.
I think the problem is there's just so many like named people in this set already that those are taking up a lot of the uncommon spots.
No, yeah, correct. No, that part I do get. But like we've got cards like there was something I saw that was uncommon. The big Sentinel, the Duchess Champion or whatever it is. That's
the 1/8.
Yeah, that's just a random uncommon, like non-unique unit. Or like, why can't that just be a Droideka that says reduce X damage or whatever? But
so one thing I just want to say about this, and I want to say FFG has proven themselves, so I'm not like mad at FFG.
No, for sure not.
I just don't agree necessarily with the choice to say if we don't have them in the starter set, we can't include those kind of tokens. Like they sold us the Game Genic tokens. They like bases are literally like nothing already. Like and bases have on the back have them from set 1. Like there's already a ton of shield tokens out there. So I don't see why it would have been a problem if you had them in like limited numbers in sets that don't have them. But if you were to just have a random card that said, give this thing a shield token or give this thing a +1/+1 counter, because you can use anything to keep track of the +1/+1 counter. It's not like you can only use those specific cards, those specific token sets. So that's my kind of thought. I don't think I think they could be more open with the cards that they include.
I don't necessarily disagree with what you're saying, but also it's marketed as you only need what are in these packs to like draft with, sort of a thing, right? Or you're having to pull out tokens that aren't in the packs that you're drafting. Maybe that's.
Where was that? Was that in a stream that said that, or was that somewhere else?
So what?
They didn't want to have the shields because it wasn't in the set or whatever. Like the tokens weren't in the set.
I mean, they just said the tokens weren't in the set. So I mean,
no, I know that. I'm saying, but like, where did they say that was the reason why Droidica couldn't have a shield in this set?
I'm not sure they ever specifically said that.
Oh, because I'm asking because like in the first year it's supposed to be like the basic fundamentals, right? So like they might want like they don't expect everyone to have everything right now because the game's still so new. Where like down the line, I could see them not caring about that as much because the game's been out a little bit longer. Like you can expect players to have more of the stuff and be prepared. Like, you know what I mean? Like
sure.
Maybe.
So like, also to be fair, Droidicas are typically like, they're supposed to be protected. Like they go out and they protect the rest of like the ships or whatever. Like, so him being a sentinel does make a lot of sense.
It does.
Oh yeah, I know that they made that. I get why they did it. And like that's even a Droidica security. It's not even like an attack Droidica. That's a security Droidica.
Right. So
very specifically guarding
now,
things.
So in an attack Droidica, I could see being a aggression villainy 4/1 shielded for 2.
Oh my god, bro. Okay, no, stop. Just stop.
And Dudeness is just like, oh my goodness, I need this.
Just stop.
Beep boop.
So the title of this episode was Foresight, and Jrod actually read my mind of what some things I wanted to talk about in the Foresight. The first thing I wanted to talk about when we look ahead is we don't, as of recording this, we do not have all the cards for Twilight of the Republic. However, we were told that as of last Friday, spoiler season is officially ended. So that means we don't know exactly when or how certain cards will be spoiled. So what's a guess that you guys have, 1 or 2 guesses you have of cards that you do not know about that will be in this set?
Okay. So we got double the Pride. So I'm still betting we're going to get twice the fall.
Oh, I actually really like that call, yeah.
So that's what I'm going to go with, just because it would be a big miss on Tyler's part because he's a big Star Wars fan and he's usually like all 4 of these like little memes. So he put the first half, like there's no way second half of that's not in, right? Like it's got to be in. Got to be. So
I don't disagree with the logic.
I have faith in Tyler.
Good first guess. Dudeness?
I mean, so I was just thinking we haven't seen an Order 66 card yet.
Ooh.
But like, is this really the Order 66 set? Because it's more focused on like set or like episode 2, right?
Yeah.
Actual Clone Wars themselves. And
yeah.
So like, I mean, I don't know, but that being said, that makes the most sense to me as an Order 66 card. So I mean, I'm still waiting for that.
All Jedis.
I don't even know what it looks like, honestly, but
it could be the opposite of Sword and Shield. Is that card? The one that gives all your troopers
shield maneuver, yeah.
Yeah. So this is like defeat all Jedis and gain the troopers.
Defeat a Jedi for each clone trooper you control.
Oof.
Also, if that card was gonna happen, it would be in cunning villainy.
True.
Because that's where Palpatine is at.
And it would flip him.
Yeah, that's true. I think a card that I really want to see is Qui-Gon Jinn. We've got the art for Darth Maul from episode 1, and I just don't see how we won't have Qui-Gon Jinn.
Boys holding that hope.
Yeah, holding that hope. I got faith that'll happen.
He went there. Oh.
Any other cards that you don't know about you think will be in a set?
I have no idea, honestly. I'm just ready for the end of all these spoilers.
Yeah, I just want to get the testing now. I'm so ready. Like my bones are ready. My body is ready. Give it to me, FFG. I can handle it. I can do it.
All right. And so thank you so much, everyone, for listening. As Jrod said, be on the lookout tomorrow for our video where we will get a chance to open some Twilight of the Republic.